This is a TalkStation original podcast.
On this week's episode of the Paper Boys podcast, JJ and I welcome the always entertaining Rodney Kemp, Cecil Lilley, and Jimmy Paylor. We spend the hour talking about their time as hosts of the Bleacher Seats show, their friendship, and all of the sports in between, including the 58th annual Mullet Bucket. It all starts right now on the Paper Boys podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paper Boys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zach Nally.
We're reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. We're joined as always by our producer Ross Caraway. And this week we're joined by three gentlemen, and I use the term loosely, who are once part of a Carteret County institution television show that ran on Time Warner Cable for 18 years, over 400 shows, Bleacher Seats. Jimmy Paylor, Rodney Kemp, and Cecil Lilley. Fellas, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure, yeah.
I remember I did the story when the show was taken off the air in 2009, and my favorite line was from you, Rodney, that you said it was a cost-cutting move, but you didn't understand that because they didn't pay anything, so you don't know how that saved any money.
That's exactly right. Because Joel would say every time Joel Hancock, every time we do a program, do I have to pay my cable bill or is it free?
You thought at least they'd take care of that,
That's
right?
right.
So I remember at the time, that was pretty shocking, though, that when they took you all off, wasn't it?
It was us. We were kind of disappointed that they moved out of town and everything because it was a popular show. We enjoyed doing it and people enjoyed hearing it. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, 400 shows is mind-blowing. Me and Zach is on number 12 here, so to think about doing 400 is like another universe. And then you all were going for about a year, and then you came back, but you were only back for about a year, right?
Right.
Yeah. And at the time, the reason they took you off was Time Warner Cable wanted to move to these 8 to 10 minute segments. So it was like news, weather, sports, and it was just on a loop all day long, these 8 to 10 minute segments. They did that over and over and over, which I guess was exciting programming to hear the same thing over and over for 8 to 10 minutes. Y'all didn't provide much they didn't provide much original local programming then, did they?
No, all that came out of the Raleigh area or Wilmington. Actually, out of Wilmington area. So then, so that local program was not so local.
What about the origin? Let's hear how Bleacher Seats started.
I'm trying to think. I think you and me and Joel decided we wanted to do that. No? All right.
No, you did a some sort of history program there at Time Warner, and Marty
Fuhr.
Yeah.
Marty Fuhr was on there, and he was talking with you.
Okay.
And he said, "I'd like to do a sports show," and you said, "I think I might be onto something there." And you called me at East Carteret, and you said, "We're going to do a TV show," and I said, "You might, but we are not, because I'm not going to get on TV." And you kept talking, and you convinced me to try it one time. And I said, I'll do it one time. Well, you can't say no to Rodney. So I tried it, and it worked out.
It seems like we met you and me and Joel met with Marty at No Name Pizza in Beaufort. And after about 5 minutes, he said, "I think we can do this."
Yeah. Joel and I were arguing about a designated hitter.
Exactly.
Well, it didn't take much for us to argue anyway, but we were discussing that, so it went from there.
And Marty Fuhr was was he general manager of Time Warner Cable, right?
Exactly.
He ran the production side of Time Warner. Yeah, he did. And Brian Sibling. Remember, Brian Sibling was our cameraman at the time. Then Marty moved on. He moved down to Wilmington, and Brian kind of took over the camera. The production side of the show.
Yeah, so. Marty was part of Bleacher Seats for
Marty actually hosted the show. So when I was in pro ball, how I got involved, I was in pro ball, and when I would come home in the winter, and Marty interviewed me one time. We talked about what was going on in pro baseball and all that, me umpiring, and then Joel got sick, or Joel couldn't come to a show, so they invited me on the show, and the rest is history. Joel was never invited back. That's just how that happened. Sorry, Joel, but
One time I had my daughter on there. I have an older daughter named Allison, and a basketball officials called in. It was Tipton and them, and they said, "You finally got someone that knows sports."
Yeah.
And we're talking about Joel Hancock, who's a Huckers Island native, longtime insurance with Farm Bureau, and he was the original. And Marty, it was Marty as host, and Rodney and Joel as the sports guys, and then it transitioned from Rodney taking over for Marty and Jimmy taking over for Joel.
That's correct.
And it was the 3U
That's
for
correct.
the majority of the 18 years, wouldn't you say?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Cecil, you didn't want to be on TV, huh?
No, I'm a low profile guy. You saw me coach.
And Rodney always said it was the Harkers Islanders on the show that made it so popular.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That made everybody down east wanted to listen to Bleacher Seats. Yeah.
You had a nice down east fan club, you said.
Yes, we did.
And you thought they had adopted you.
Oh yeah, they were putting up with. I'm one of the more hitters they put up with.
It's amazing the people that would come up to you and talk. I was friends at the time with Paul Payne, who was principal of Harkers Island, and he lived over Pine Knoll Shore. And we're at Atlantic Beach at the food line, and we're walking around, and a guy comes up. People come, I see you on TV. Who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl? I'm like, I don't have a clue who's going to win the Super Bowl, but just by seeing you on TV, they think they know you or want to talk to you. So.
Including his wife, she was secretly watching Bleacher Seats every time. Yeah.
Did y'all do it every single week?
So no, we did it.
Once a month.
No. We did it every other week.
Yeah.
So
every other week.
So that was one of the negative things at the time that, we couldn't really talk about a specific sporting event because by the time it was airing the second week, that was kind of old news. Yeah. So we had to really watch what we talked about and not try to focus in on one game. The beauty of this, JJ, what people don't realize is it's kind of like we're doing today. Rodney and me, Cecil, we should always get the maddest. Rodney would host the show after Marty would always tell us what we're going to talk about. He would always kind of give us a rundown. Rodney never would. He'd come in with a little note card with some things written down on it and wouldn't show it to me and Cecil. We had to go off the cuff and just talk about what. And Rodney would come up sometime with the damnedest events. I mean, he would go in Food Line in Newport and see some lady, and she wanted to know about race car driving, and then that week we had to talk about race car. Me and Cecil sat over there twiddling thumb. We knew nothing about race car driving.
A man from Harkers Island said, I like your show, except you don't know NASCAR. And I said, I don't know anything about NASCAR. He said, son, you better learn. Yeah. And he said, what you got to do is have a driver and a car. So that's where we started. We still weren't good at it, though. No. I picked me out a driver. I forget his name, but I picked him because he drove number 7. Yeah, number 7 is my number. That's my lucky. That's Mickey Mantle's number, and I always wore 7. And so I picked number 7, and I saw him in cabs, and I told him, I said, I got me a driver. He said, who? And I said, well, I'm not sure his name, but he drives car number 7. He said, that's not good. I said, why? He said, well, right to start with, he's a Yankee. I said, that pretty much hit him in NASCAR stuff there. Yeah. One of the things when we got Jimmy on there is we could talk umpiring. Because Jimmy you're still wide open. Yeah. And it was interesting for him to analyze what we saw, what we thought was erroneous in the game or whatever. So that added to it.
Yeah, when Jimmy mentioned earlier he was in pro ball, that was umpiring.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And Rodney, you always said that Jimmy added something to it because he liked the NFL and you and Cecil could care less.
Well, I mean, I like it. I mean, it's not baseball. But I watch the NFL.
You two are basketball and baseball guys.
Amen.
Yeah.
And just since you mentioned NFL, Jimmy, I thought the opening week of the NFL was the worst that I have ever seen as far as teams playing.
I thought it was the best. Well, I'm a big Dallas fan, and they went pretty good. Yeah, I said, man, I
don't know what you're talking about.
It's great.
You obviously you didn't watch the Panthers and Atlanta.
I did not.
Well, let's get a quick bio from everybody. Give me like a 30-second bio. We'll start with Jimmy.
So Harkers Island born and bred. Like I said, two of the three of us are Harkers Islanders that was on Bleacher Seats. So like I said, went to East Carteret, then got in pro ball for 11, 12 years, and just been home ever since, and just doing my thing around Carteret County.
And most of your adult life's been in real estate, right?
That's correct. Yep.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Kemp.
Just a sports fan all my life. When you grew up in the 1950s, you were going to be a sports fan because it was so wonderful, and still is really. And that baseball started, and then I taught and coached at West Carteret High School, and that opened up a lot of different doors with people in sports. And
did you say you grew up in 1950?
Yeah, I'll be 77 tomorrow.
Wow. Wow.
And you're a Morehead City High School grad?
I was the last class to graduate from Morehead City High School. They were building West Carteret when I was, and I played in the 1963 Mullet Bucket game.
How about that? The last class of the Eagles.
That's exactly right.
How about that?
Very good you remember that.
And then Rodney also spent some time in Texas.
I was a graduate of Texas Tech University. My family took me out there, and then they came back home and left me there for 3 years. and I survived. Yeah.
All right, you go ahead, Cecil.
Well, I grew up in Bath. And Bath is the oldest town in the state of North Carolina. You didn't know that. Incorporated in 1705. I was a Bath pirate. But I got to Carteret County by way of my sister and her husband. He was working with the Department of Soil Conservation, and they got moved around, and he ended up in Carteret County. And as it happened so, they bought a house next to Chuck Lewis and Claudia. And they became real good friends, and I was a junior at ECU, and I would come down and visit, and I got to know Chuck. And when I graduated from ECU, he called me and told me there was a job opening at East Carteret. And I interviewed and got the job at East Carteret and moved here in 1972, and I've been here ever since.
Just full disclosure, it's really weird for me to call Cecil because he was my health and PE teacher. So he's been Mr. Lilley my whole life, and now calling Cecil
That's
is weird.
right.
And Cecil has got the most impressive athletic resume of anybody in this room. Of course, that's not a big brag about the people's in this room. That's like saying you're the tallest dog at a Chihuahua convention. I mean, that's in this group. But Cecil was the boys basketball coach at East Carteret for how many years?
19.
They numerous conference championships, deep runs in the playoffs. And then even better, I think, though, is when he transitioned to Harkers Island Middle School and coached the girls. And what was the number you hit on consecutive wins?
66.
66 wins in a row.
Yeah.
How many years was that?
Well, I was going to say, we only played like 10 or 12 games a year.
So it went a long time, didn't it?
Yeah, but it was a long time. We had a 91-4.
91-4
for 8 years, I think. Yeah,
that's a pretty good stretch.
Yeah, well, I had some really good players.
Yeah,
real good guards, which you can do a whole lot with guards in middle school. Never had crossed my mind to coach in middle school or girls. I got to Harkers Island. I was the Dine East athletic director, and we needed a coach. And the principal after said, "Could you find maybe one of your guys that you coach that would do middle school?" And I said, well, I was seeing. I was sitting at a game, watching the middle school girls game in that cold, drafty gym at Harkers Island. Sure. Last game I had coached before that was at Southwest Edgecombe in a district championship game. And I'm sitting there watching these girls play, and East point guard, Harkers Island point guard, little girl, Leanne Chadwick. I was watching her play as a 7th grader, and I got intrigued. I said, well, she could really play. And I got to thinking different things that we could do, and I felt like I could help her in her basketball. So I went home and I told my wife April. I said, "Well, I think I found somebody to coach the girls at Harkers Island." And she said, "Who?" I said, "Me."
That's an easy hire, isn't it?
I think I'll do that. And so I told Mr. Payne, the principal, the next day. I said, "I think I can do that." And he said, "Well, will you coach the boys too?" So what I ended up doing, I don't know how many rules I broke, but I combined the teams. I practiced them together. There was only like 14 or 15 all in both teams, so I just practiced them together. And coaching the Harkers Island girls was one of the very best experiences I had coaching. They were eager to learn, didn't have a lot of bad habits to break. They just hung on every word you told them, so that worked out well.
This episode is brought to you by RE/MAX Ocean Properties of Morehead City. Picture yourself waking up to breathtaking sunrises, strolling along the pristine sandy beaches of the Crystal Coast, and indulging in the tranquility of seaside living. That's what Realtor Jimmy Paylor can help you find. Take advantage of his years of experience and dedication and let him guide you through every step of the home buying process, ensuring you find the perfect property that suits your style. A home is more than a place you go after work. It's where you invest in your well-being, where memories are made and cherished for a lifetime. Don't wait. Start your home buying journey today. Let Jimmy Paylor and RE/MAX Ocean Properties make it happen for you. Come visit their office at 3326 Bridges Street in Morehead City, or give Jimmy a call at 252-342-0802. That's RE/MAX Ocean Properties at 342-0802.
Hi, my name is BJ Frazier, head football coach at East Carteret High School, and you're listening to the Paper Boys Podcast.
Tell me about how far y'all go back together.
That's a good question, because I was just thinking as Cecil was talking, he was at East and I was at West, and we naturally had to coach against each other, particularly in basketball and baseball, right, Cecil?
Right.
And we became friends. Well, that sounds real good, except I don't want my buddy beating me. And that was the part of the rivalry. And it got so that our kids knew that who we were and how much we thought of each other. So that made the games very, very strong rivalries, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was my first year at East, and matter of fact, we ended up playing on a basketball team together.
Yeah, basketball.
I was at a West Carteret basketball game, and I think Chuck was there, and he told me, he said, that's Rodney Kemp over there. He's on our basketball team. Go in, he coaches. Go introduce yourself and whatever. And so I did, and we played on the basketball team together. Me and you, Chuck, Widgeon, and that was fun. And we had some other guys that could really play. So that
Rick Weir's played on that team too.
Rick played.
Roland Bell too.
Roland Bell, yeah.
Whatever. But from that, once we got talking, we found out we had a whole lot of things in common. Besides coaching and baseball trivia and just a love of sports and whatever, and that's been 50 years ago.
No one wrong when we 77.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
JJ, so you mentioned that during our break that it was weird calling Cecil because he was always Mr. Lilley. So Cecil was also my ninth grade PE teacher. So again, of course, and a story that I probably have, and I've known Cecil. He's been one of my best friends for many, many years. A story I probably never shared with him was I went out for ninth grade basketball. Went out for JV basketball in ninth grade year, and the last day, right before the cut, because I didn't think I was going to make the team, I didn't go to the last practice. So basically quit. He saw me the next day at PE and said, "Why weren't you there?" I said, "I didn't think I was going to make the team." He said, "You were going to make your team." And so he weren't going to cut me. I thought Ben Gilmore was going to. Ben Gilmore, I thought, had the last spot, but it was actually me that had the last spot. And Ben Gilmore went on to play East Carteret for 4 years. So, again, like I said, that was so. Like I said, Coach Lilley then was my ninth grade PE teacher, and like I said, we become best friends from there. And to the point that I remember one day in my 11th grade year, Cecil always drove Jeeps. He had a Jeep. And I called him the night before I needed to ride to school, ready to ride to East Carteret. Couldn't get nobody. Dean Nelson weren't going to school that day or something, and I needed to ride to school. So I called his house. At that time, I obviously didn't have cell phones, so I called his home and talked to him and said, "Hey, I need to ride to school tomorrow. Can I ride with you?" He said, "Sure." He said, "What time?" He said, "I'm probably going to go there about 7. I'll be by your house about 7:15." I said, "I won't be ready till 7:20." So I kind of dictating to him when he was going to pick me up. And I always remember, I was like, "Man, I told him when to pick me up. He didn't tell me." But yeah, that's so we all go back a long way. And of course, at the time when Rodney was coaching over at West Carteret, our rival, so I knew who Coach Kemp was as well. He was, like I said, Mr. Widgeon's assistant coach and coached the JV team. And then with the Naturals, you can't forget about the Naturals. You all play with the Naturals, and then all that good old
baseball
time.
and softball.
Yeah, softball.
And then didn't you all play with the Carteret? You didn't play with the Eastern Blues. You played with the Carteret Tides.
Yeah, I was not good enough to play with Blues.
Yeah, y'all played with the Carteret Tides. Yeah,
Blues were smarter. Down east, and they were
Yeah.
particular.
Now Jimmy mentioned basketball, but Jimmy was a good baseball player at East on some really good baseball teams. Matter of fact, in one of the playoff games, you hit a grand slam home run.
I did. Yeah, against Mania.
Mania.
Wow. Yeah.
A really good left fielder.
Yep. Well, due to you and all our outfield
All our drills.
outfield
drills.
Exactly. Yep. That's right. Right.
Yeah, Rodney and Cecil said you played adult men's basketball. Who was y'all's sponsor? Were you Captain Beals or were you Sanitary? Who were you?
Perry's Texaco All-Stars.
Perry's Texaco All-Stars.
Very prestigious gas station. Yeah, he coached us in softball too. He sponsored us in softball too.
Yeah.
Well, unlike Jimmy, I had Cecil for ninth grade health and PE, and two things I remember about that was first day of school. He was like, we have to play all these different sports. I have to take you out. We'll play softball. We'll play dodgeball. He said, "Well, boys, if it was up to me, it was all boys. Yeah. We didn't have girls in it. They split it up."
Yeah.
And Cecil said, "But I'll tell you, if it's up to me, we just go play basketball every day." I was like, "I'm gonna like this."
So JJ, that's funny. So Cecil came up in my 4 years. I don't remember what year it was there. He come up with a game in the gym. He called it Lily Ball. It was basically wiffle ball. We played wiffle ball in the gym, but we called it Lily Ball. I mean, just memories like that from going back to East Carteret and the things that happened and again, I think I talked to you about it in the last podcast that we did. That I was a gym rat. I mean, I was study hall. I would leave study hall and go to the gym, but stay in the gym, and like I said, just stayed in there with him and Coach Leatherman and all the people that were around the gym at the time. Like I said, but we came up with a game called Lily Ball, and that's one thing we played quite a bit.
Yeah, that was fun. The reason I called it Lily Ball was because at the time Billy Martin was
Billy
coaching
Ball,
at coach at Oakland,
and
they called it Billy Ball. They ran a lot and just stuff. I said, okay.
I kind of remember a similar thing. We played Miss Lily had us playing a game on a football field, and it was football. It was two-hand tag, but you could throw it any time.
Yeah.
Catch it and then throw it forward.
Yeah.
It's like some kind of rugby or something. We ate that up.
Yeah.
The other thing I remember is when Cecil took us in the gym, we played basketball, which we ended up doing about 80% of the time, is him over on the side shooting free throws.
And never missed.
Never missed. I never saw one clank off. In a 50-minute gym, I never saw one go off.
Yeah. What I really like to do in the gym was, like you said, roll that basketball rack out. Hey, guys,
have fun.
Split up and play some here.
And part of the fortune that both Cecil and I had being young coaches, one at West and one at East, was the head coaches that were Coach McQuaid. The man that won three state championships, 91 straight games at Beaufort, and Billy Widgeon. You couldn't have better bosses than those two as far as greats in the basketball game, right?
Yeah, I think Coach McQuaid and Billy, I think both of them were in the North Carolina.
I think they are too.
Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and in the Carteret County basketball, Mount Rushmore, those two were on there, aren't they?
Yeah. I just wish, and I hope, and I'm not involved with East Carteret and West Carteret and Croatan as much as I should be. I just hope that the athletes today continue a relationship. I wish they could have the relationship that I've had with these two gentlemen here, with carrying on throughout life, because people say that, a teacher can't make a difference in your life. I'll argue that to my deathbed. Like I said, I just hope that tradition is continued like it was, JJ, when we were at East Carteret, with the relationship that we had with our coaches.
Well, you mentioned on the episode we had you on about the teacher that asked you about being an umpire.
Donald Leatherman asked me to go umpire Naturals game one night because somebody weren't going to show up. I umpired my first game with Don Ahlers.
Jeez.
Don Ahlers.
Yes.
Yeah, Don Ahlers, and I made $8 a game. Worked 2 games, had $16. I was something.
Slow pitch softball. The Naturals are playing,
and the Naturals that night played Fry Ruffin, big rival. Remember Fry Ruffin?
Yeah.
That was a big rival. Mm-hmm. So that was my first umpiring.
Cecil and I were impressive that night too, weren't we?
I don't even remember y'all playing. Were y'all there?
Well, we're getting a good glimpse of it here, the folksy and the friendly nature that y'all have. That was the real reason Bleacher Seats was so popular, right?
I think so. That made it simple for that, and that was the reason that Jimmy described. I could just come in and say, let's do this. And they jumped all over it. I mean, when you have stars like this, all you have to do is say hello.
Rodney, do you remember Miss Eloise from how good she loved the show Bleacher Seats?
Miss Ellen.
Yeah, Ellen. Yeah. From she lived in Smyrna or Marshallburg. Boy, she attended every East Carteret sporting event.
Right.
I don't care what it was. It could be.
She attended my little league games when I was a little boy.
Yeah. So like I said, she just was a sports advocate.
She was like Ruffy, wasn't she?
Oh, she was just like Ruffy, exactly.
Wow, what a name!
What a name! What a way to
you talk about idol.
Yeah. But anyway, she loved Bleacher Seats. I mean, you couldn't see, if you saw her anywhere, she would stop and want to talk to you about Bleacher Seats. And like I said, just you almost had to think that it did make a difference. People look forward to Wednesday night at 7 o'clock watching whatever channel it came, Channel 10, I think.
That was Miss Ellen Wade.
Ellen Wade, that's right.
Yes. You might have remembered her, JJ. She might have been around the East.
Yeah, I do remember her.
Miss Ellen, whatever. Let me share a Ruffy story with you.
Sure. Give us a little background on Ruffy.
Ruffy was a huge East Carteret fan of sports. Ruffy was a big, strong guy, but Ruffy, I want to be use the appropriate word.
Speech impediment.
Yeah, he couldn't talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not like at all, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And it's big and strong. But anyway, we're playing at West Craven, and Ruffy's at West Craven. And I don't know the guy on the clock. I call a timeout, and it's maybe like 7 seconds left, and I look, and there's 2 seconds left. And I'm not pleased, and I'm going on this guy at 1 o'clock. So finally I look, and Ruffy comes walking across the court at West Craven, pointing, saying, and holding up 7 fingers for 7 seconds and whatever. And so the security they had at the game was a little security guard from Weyerhaeuser. And he came up to me, he said, well, that's your fan. You're going to have to get him off the court. I said, you don't know, I'm not going to grab Ruffy and tell him that. He knows what's happened and whatever. So he said, what do you think? I said, the best thing to do is just let Ruffy go sit back down and get him out.
Was it you told me, Cecil, that you asked him one time what he thought about one of the new coaches at East and he just held his fingers over his nose?
Yeah.
That's Ruffy. That's Ruffy.
This Saturday at 6 p.m. at Carteret County Speedway, it's the Bobby Watson Memorial First Responders Night, sponsored by Fat Fellas, the East Coast Flathead Fords, limited late models, and more race in honor of Bobby Watson. Plus, first responders in free with valid ID, courtesy of Woodman Life. Tickets $15, kids 10 and under, free. Military discount with ID, VIP seats, trackside, camping, and Moonshiners Restaurant at Carteret County Speedway. The Bobby Watson Memorial First Responders Night, this Saturday at 6 p.m. Details on Facebook and tickets at carteretspeedway.com.
For 18 years, and Jimmy, you were like 13 probably, because Joel was like the first 5, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
I don't even think Joe made it 5 years. It's only a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of the time you're doing it, and you guys are doing it at 18, and then you come back, you've taken off the air for a year, you come back, so really it's 19 years, and it's probably well over 400 shows. Then they just tell you, I think, Rodney, you said that you came in and they said, this is going to be your last show today.
Yeah.
What was it like to do that for that long, for that many shows, and then it's going? Well, I'm sure you missed it very much.
It particularly was strange to me and Cecil, because Cecil would pick me up where I was working at Chalk and Gibbs on Reynolds Street in Beaufort, in Moorhead, and we could talk bleacher seats going up. So that was always fun. And we talked afterwards, too, how we said things.
But what came from that was when we were talking and we said, well, we've enjoyed this and we decided that we would start walking Front Street.
After we lost bleacher seats, we decided to start walking Front Street. I forgot that. That's exactly right.
As a matter of fact, JJ, you came and walked with us some and rode a...
Back in the glory days, I used to live on Front Street, and I'd see y'all walk by every day.
Yeah. JJ, now what they're not telling you is that how devastated they were because Cecil got to leave Harker's Island once every 2 weeks, and that was the day that he got to leave Harker's Island. So that was more important, that he got to come to Moorhead and then to Newport. So that, and look, and you think I'm kidding, but there would be weeks that he wouldn't leave Harker's Island except to go to work, and then he, like I said, it was a thrill for these guys and for myself to get together on that Wednesday. It was as far from an obligation as I've ever had in my life. It was something that was like this. It was something that we just enjoyed doing.
Now you wrote an award-winning article about Rodney and I walking Front Street.
Well, yeah, let's talk. I want to get into that. Let's talk about Rodney Kemp and Cecil Lilley and superstitions when it comes to sports.
Well,
wow, that may take the rest of the program.
I think the headline of that story I wrote on Rodney Kemp and Cecil Lilley was The Odd Couple.
Yeah, that would be still accurate. Yes.
And it wasn't that you were odd, that you were friends. It was that the way you looked at sports was odd.
Yeah, that's very, very. I'm gonna brag about Cecil real quickly. I've had toe problems, and it's cut into my walking. Cecil's coaching me back to glory.
Okay.
And he's put in a halftime for us. We walk half the way, and then we sit at a picnic table, and he calls it halftime. Typical coach, right? and I need it because I catch my breath then too. And
well, tell us about the inventory of jerseys you've got, Rodney.
That's an insane thing. My grandchildren don't quite understand, but I've got about 500 college jerseys and professional jerseys, and depending upon who's playing on TV, I'll wear before the team I want to lose. I'll wear theirs before the game starts, and then I'll put on another.
Well, can I borrow this shirt you got on the rest of the year? He's got on an Eagles shirt, and I want to borrow that because I want them to lose.
So
okay.
I want to set this up because this is important. You've got about 500 jerseys, and if your Red Raiders are playing somebody, Texas Tech, let's say they're playing Texas, you'll wear a Texas jersey that day.
And it's the only time I wear a Texas jersey too, because I despise Texas. But I tell people that Texas A&M and Texas Tech don't like each other, but they agree on one thing: we both hate UT.
Run it. And the next week, if they're playing Oklahoma, you're going to wear an Oklahoma jersey.
Yeah, right.
And that's how it goes every week during the college football season.
Yeah,
and do you still do that?
Or any sports,
and
basketball.
You're still doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, where it came from is my sister one summer went to a church lecture at Purdue University and brought me a T-shirt back. And it got good to me, and I wear it every other day at school and all that stuff. And then my brother and she had people that went to college, and I'd write them. Darden Ure, I wrote him, send me a Carolina T-shirt. He said I still hadn't paid him for it.
Rodney McCullough, wearing the opposite team's T-shirt. He said, I think he called it cross-dressing. I think I probably need to find another name besides that. But I mean, everybody has.
Let's talk about Cecil Lilley's idiosyncrasies too. Now.
Well,
he's got some too.
Doesn't everybody have lucky T-shirts and lucky hats and lucky rings?
Sure.
And lucky baseballs that you have to hold and
plenty of Yankee stuff.
Yankee stuff, all kinds of lucky Yankee stuff.
And you did a little thing like you'd walk around the rug, right?
I'd walk around. Right? If things are not going well, I'll go sit in a swing and then come back and peep and see if they got out of a bases loaded situation or something like that. When they were playing the Phillies in the World Series, I ended up with a Phillies cap, I think for that little pitch coach league you got me in there with.
Right.
I ended up with a Phillies cap, and they're playing the Phillies, and it's like the 6th game. And I think the Phillies cap, and I take the Phillies cap, and I put it underneath my pool table. And it worked like a charm.
That's why they won.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Things went well after that.
He said, JJ, he said that when the Yankees are not doing good, he spent a lot of time outside on the swing. I bet he's been doing a lot of swinging this year. He's done a lot of swinging this year.
Yeah. One Christmas, my mother gave me a sports coat and a vest where I looked good. And that was back in the day. Coaches dressed; they didn't wear warm-up suits and whatever. We wore coats and ties and whatever. And but I was real careful when to wear that. Matter of fact, I waited till we played Lejeune because they were not very good. Because I didn't want to jinx my new coat or whatever, so I wore that against Lejeune.
So does the superstitions that carry over to the college basketball season?
But
for sure.
I mean, you have lucky spots that you sit in too or whatever.
Yeah.
That helps.
Got to have the recliner just in the right spot, huh?
Yeah. You have to do that. And I tend to talk to the TV too when I watch it. Sometimes it's not pleasant. My granddaughter was at the time, she was like 6 or 7. She would come in there once in a while. She said, "Papa, you know they can't hear you." I would say, yeah.
Particularly New Year's Day college football. I'd break 7 or 8 shirts out. I had to lay them out and be ready for the whole game. And my daughter came home one night with her date, and she saw me in the living room, and she said, "Now you have to understand, my father's a little odd." and he agreed.
Well, we're in high school football season now, and Rodney, you and Cecil have had some time in the play-by-play booth, right?
Yeah, some.
Yeah, a few years anyway, right?
Yeah, and David Guthrie and I broadcast it, and I miss it to this day because I like to be around. Caesar's the same way. We like to be around young'uns that were enjoying sports, whether we coach them or whether we're watching them, and that's a big part of it.
Was this radio or was this for Channel 10?
TV.
It was TV.
Yeah.
It was Time Warner.
Yeah, they carried the game of the week with one of the local high schools, and even I think they even went to Havelock. So they have Havelock. I don't even know if Crowtown was in, but Havelock, West Carteret, and East Carteret. Yeah, then David Guthrie and yourself, and I remember that. Remember it well.
And our rule was, particularly if East and West were playing and we were broadcasting, to make sure that we never said anything about the young'un because Grandmama's listening.
That's right.
Because that's true in Carteret County.
Yeah. Who did you work with, Cecil? Do you remember?
No.
You probably didn't do it very long, did you?
No, I didn't do it too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a West Carteret game with you. Like I said, and West Carteret killed somebody that night, and I remember we did a game there at West Carteret. That was fun. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of high school football, we got the Mullet Bucket this week, and I want to get everybody's favorite Mullet Bucket memory. Start with you, Jimmy. Does any game stand out to you?
So yeah. Back, I mean, I've got several. Especially when I was at East Carteret, the year that we went to the state championship in 1984. I remember that was West Carteret had beaten us the prior year, but we ended up winning in 84. We won the Mullet Bucket, and that was a big night. And going over to McDonald's after the game and doing all that. But one of the memories that I have, I was dating a girl from West Carteret, and later on in life, and we went to the Mullet Bucket, and West Carteret was winning at halftime pretty good, and East Carteret come back and won the game, and like I said, and I was sitting on the West Carteret side, and I was obviously the only Mariner on the West Carteret side, but East Carteret come back and won. I can remember standing up cheering, and then I had to sit back down real humble and to get out of there. But yeah, there's such good, what a good rivalry that has been for, what year did you say it started, Rodney?
1949.
1949. So yeah, a lot of good memories with the Mullet Bucket.
How about you, Rodney? What's some of your favorite ones?
Well, that's easy now. You got to realize that my senior year, I was a defensive back from Ward City High School, and we had to play Lejeune, and Lejeune came out with what was called the lonesome end. The kid didn't go in the huddle. That was Earl Red Brake from West Point invented that. And so I remember Coach Clark saying to Coach Parker, who can we waste on him? And Coach Parker said, Rodney, get over here. And so I had to guard him the rest of the night, and he went long on every play, and they threw about 9 or 10 passes to him. And anyway, I intercepted one towards the end, and then we scored on the next play, and we won the game. And Coach Clark grabbed me. I didn't know why he grabbed me, but he did. He said, "Okay, you're gonna start and play the whole Mullet Bucket game when we go visit them in Beaufort in that 1963." And it was nothing better than that.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And we won 18-0, and it was it's still. I'm getting chills now talking about how thrilling it was because it was the Mullet Bucket game.
It's a shutout.
Yeah, it was a shutout.
Thanks in part to Rodney Kemp, defensive back.
No, actually, James Davis was the running back, and he would go from the 20-yard line to the 20-yard line. But then in the huddle, he couldn't breathe, and so Donald Oglesby scored 3 touchdowns, and he's the hero of the game. So no, we know who won the game for us.
Rodney's talking about getting goosebumps. We're standing that's 2 or 3 years ago. I'm leaning on my wall there at East Carteret. And playing West,
as you tend to do.
Yes, that's why I like lean. and so we're playing West, and Rodney's granddaughter is playing for West. Well, the East Carteret pep band is there, and they're good. And for years, while I was coaching and whatever, they play Anchors Away. And like I remember sitting in the locker room getting ready to come out, and they're playing Anchors Away, and goosebumps and whatever. And the pep band is playing it, and I told Rodney, I said, when East Carteret pep band, when they play Anchors Away, it will make the hairs stand up on your arms. He said, I don't think so.
That's how strong the rivalry still is, yes.
I would say the one that stands out to me the most is Russell Reed in 1987.
Yes.
In the first half alone, he had, I looked it up just now, he had 358 yards.
Wow. In the first half.
In first half alone. At that time, that was the 5th highest total in North Carolina high school history.
Is that right?
Every time he touched it, he was going.
Yeah.
And that was 18 carries.
Boy, what an athlete. Cecil, you remember Russell well, played basketball for you.
Russell played basketball.
Yeah.
He's in my weight training class.
Yeah, so he was a sophomore when I was a senior. Yes, I remember Russell well. Yeah.
Nice
Great guy.
But they couldn't tackle him.
No.
West could not tackle him.
Would you want to tackle him?
No, I didn't want to tackle anybody.
Try to tackle him. Yeah, he was a big boy. Yeah, strong.
I'm Ryan Kelly.
I'm Lynn Schultz.
And we're the hosts of the Senior Moment podcast.
Each week we bring you conversations with experts right here in our community about the common and uncommon challenges facing our aging population and caregivers.
We discuss the challenges of caring for a loved one with dementia, as well as the importance of health planning, family history, and much more.
Join us every week for Senior Moment, streaming now on Spotify, YouTube, and at CarolinaCoastOnline.com.
This is Daniel Barrow, the head football coach of the West Carteret Patriots, and you're listening to the Paper Boys podcast.
All right, we'll take this last segment. We'll do some bleacher seats. Let's talk about some topics in sports here. I want to start with Cecil Lilley's Yankees. What's been the problem this year?
Well, off-season addition to Carlos Rodon, 6 years, $162 million. He's won 3 games.
So the return on the investment's not been good. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he says played half the season. Aaron Judge out for 2 months, and then pitching staff pretty much decimated. And from the All-Star break last year, not this year, but they've been a 500 team the second half of last year. So they gambled on some players coming back, and it didn't work out. And they haven't been fun to look at. I watched a doubleheader yesterday, which they managed to sweep the Red Sox. Sorry about that, Rod. But they struck out 29 times in 2 games. It's hard to look at.
Cecil, does Cashman and Boone come back next year?
Yes.
I think both of them.
Yeah, I think so. The owner, Hal Steinbrenner, is nothing like his dad.
So let me ask you this: if George is there, do they come back next year?
No, they don't come back to about half team.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be back. But baseball has been good. They've made some rule changes that I like. They did away with a shift, which Rodney and I despised for years. They did away with a shift and made the bases a little larger. I like that. The pitch clock, that speeds the game up. I like that. And the limited number of throwovers, I like that. And people were talking about, well, it's going to ruin the game. Everybody's going to steal 100 bases and whatever, because they only can throw over twice. Players who don't steal bases are not going to steal bases.
Still can't steal bases.
They're not going to steal bases. They have been stealing bases or whatever. Now, Acuna with the Braves is having a season that's never been had before. He's going to end up, when the Braves are really good. But he's going to end up with 40 home runs and 60 stolen bases. That's never been done in the history of baseball. When you start doing things that's never been done in the history of baseball, that's pretty good. When you got a team like the Braves and Matt Olson, the first baseman, as we're doing this, he's got like 51 home runs and 130 RBIs, and he's not the best player in the lineup. That's pretty strong.
So to that point, Cecil, the Braves they got a 50 home run hitter and a 50 stolen base hitter. That hadn't been done. I mean, it's only been done like 4 times in the history of baseball. So, that what an accomplishment for the Braves. And Braves are fun to watch.
The Braves are fun to watch.
Fun to watch. Being from the southeastern United States, a lot of following in this area, so they're fun to watch.
And see, I like the Braves managers.
Yes,
Brian, say his last name for me.
I can't pronounce it.
But he's been in baseball a long time. He's a lifer.
Yeah.
He's not a high-profile guy, and he's just a good baseball man. And he got a chance after numerous years
in the minors.
Yes, and it's worked out well for him, and I like that.
How about this for a dream Carteret County World Series matchup: the Atlanta Braves versus the Baltimore Orioles?
Wow.
Would Carteret County be more excited than any other matchup that could possibly be?
There's a ton of following for the Braves and the Orioles for sure. Back to New York. What a depressing time to be from New York. I bet there's New Yorkers jumping off of every bridge in New York right now. I mean, with the Mets, the Yankees, now the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah.
And it's just all 4 teams it's almost like they're in the cellar.
Yeah, Jets, $47 million they played Aaron Rodgers.
74 seconds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
four plays.
Well, the Red Sox, you ain't had much to root for this year either, have you, Rodney?
No. When you're a Red Sox in the American League and a Cubs fan in the National League, you have tough times, and that's been traditionally through the years for sure.
And mentioning the Red Sox and Yankees, the American League East where they play is tough. I mean, talk about they've had really bad seasons, but they're both 500.
Both 500.
If
you look at the other divisions, that there's people at the top are just at 500. So you say they're struggling, which they are to their tradition, to their standards, but in the big scheme, they're probably in the middle somewhere of Major League Baseball.
You mentioned a lot of Orioles fans and Braves fans in Carteret County. The East Carteret play-by-play guy, Grady Falter, he's a big Orioles fan.
Yes,
he's living his life this year, man.
Sure. Yeah,
it's been a long time for the Orioles.
Yeah, it's fun to see the Orioles do well. I like the Orioles. I'd like to see them in the World Series, and but they had done things the right way. They've rebuilt. They're a young team. They're exciting. They got a fantastic young catcher who's a switch hitter, and they're fun to look at.
there are certain teams in certain leagues, in certain sports, where if that team is good, it's better for the league, and the Orioles is one of those.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. That's right.
What about Shohei Ohtani? Let's talk about him. What do we think?
What a talent! What a talent! I mean, he's a free agent this year. Is that right? So
He's a free agent that's going to undergo Tommy John surgery. So the fact that he's a two-way player, that might come into some question because he's going to be out at least a year before he can pitch again.
But he'll still be able to DH. Is that
he'll
correct?
Be able to DH.
Yeah.
Anybody that's compared to Babe Ruth, if you're a baseball fan, that's a magic name.
Rodney, how was Babe Ruth, by the way?
How was?
How was he? You said you're 77. I figured you saw him play a lot. Well, at the time, I actually listened to him on the radio. How was Babe Ruth?
I guess I asked for that.
Babe Ruth used to come down east.
Yeah, Davis Shore, duck hunting over at the old Davis clubhouse over on Core Banks.
And the old timers act like Babe Ruth's just an average Joe. I said, no, he's not. He's Babe Ruth.
I don't know how much hunting he did. I think he had a real good time.
I think he did too.
Probably drank a lot of liquor.
I think so.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the only one. A lot of big time guys came down here to hunt.
Sure, back in the day.
Yeah. What do we think about Stanford and Cal and SMU joining the ACC?
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk about how ridiculous the NCAA is, in that Tiz Walker thing. If you make Cecil and I talked about this. If you are so bad that you make Mac Brown say something bad about you, you're terrible. And they are, aren't they? There's no reason. The NCAA. There's no reason for them to punish the kid for that. It's so clear.
As you're talking about the Carolina wide receiver, the NCAA has said is not eligible. When there's guys playing in the NCAA that have been playing like for 8 years,
Yeah, there's a wide receiver at State this year from Rice. I think he's about his 8th year. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Played the other day.
But like I said, and Mac Brown is not one to get upset, and he's well respected in football. So when he's upset about it, and you got to feel for the kid. He's not going to be able to play football this year.
And we've been talking about this for years as we continue to stay in touch with each other. We talk about the NCAA folding. We started talking about that 10 years ago, but it becomes more like it's going to happen. It's almost like it's got to happen. The NCAA has lost its stature and what it used to be and to what it is today.
The ACC, those three teams, you want a West Coast market, and then you want a Dallas. So that's where they throw in the Texas team there.
That's right.
I mean, they even throw in ideas along about using Dallas as a neutral site to play games. Is that not the craziest thing you've ever heard of?
So do you think eventually that a Carolina, a Clemson, a Florida State leaves the ACC?
It'd be okay with me if Florida State and Clemson left the ACC. I don't.
Well,
have
that's personal, Lou.
It sounds personal.
It sounds really
for
personal.
a long time. Yeah.
Jimmy, the way things are, I wouldn't be surprised
if anything
happened.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because right now, State flipped their vote. That's the reason.
That's right.
They flipped,
exactly
so
right.
That's upset Carolina because the Carolina and Clemson, and Florida, they didn't want the teams in there. So it gets down to the bottom line, what we always talk about, where can he make the most money?
It's all about there's a song, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
It feels like they're destroying themselves for an extra dollar.
You talking about shooting yourself in the foot. It's always that's what it feels like.
And the last person that they all have in mind is a student athlete. You don't care if you got to get on a plane and ride 3 or 4 hours to go to the West Coast and play or whatever. That's all right.
So be it.
Yeah.
And Rodney Kemp has his idea about what would cure the NCAA, and Cecil and I've talked about this. Name Jay Billis as the leader of it, and just run the crowd out and let him handle it because he's brilliant.
He seems like he knows what he's talking about.
He knows everything he talks about. He knows what he's talking about. Of course, that was he played for Coach K, so he better, huh?
How about it?
Yeah.
What about the East Carolina Pirates football team? They're 0-2. They got App State this weekend. That might, they could be
0-3.
They could be staring 0-3 right in the face.
I tell you, you got to figure out your quarterback situation. If in any football league, whether it's Pop Warner, high school, college, it starts with the man receiving the snap. And East Carolina has not figured out that yet. And I'm a big Mike Houston fan. Love what looking at him on the sideline. Other than Ruff, he's been one of my favorite East Carolina coaches. But a little bit of the blame has to go on Houston. Last year, Coach Garcia got 0 snaps. I mean, he didn't put him in. They played in the bowl in Birmingham Bowl, whatever it's called, against Coastal. And they're winning big the whole game, and Garcia never got a snap in that game.
Naylor's got all the snaps.
Naylor's got all the snaps all year, and granted, he should have, but it shows now. Garcia's probably played himself out of a quarterback role. Shortly, they're going to go with Flynn shortly, I would think, if Garcia continues to struggle. And they look. I went up to Ann Arbor to Michigan to that, and what a facility, by the way. What a experience, epic trip.
The big house.
The big house, and it's big, 109,000, and there's another 100,000 outside the place that don't go in. It's crazy. What a good college time. But anyway, East Carolina actually looked better against Michigan than they did against Marshall.
Yeah.
I was encouraged the second half.
Yeah, their defense stepped up.
Play well against
defense
Marshall.
stepped up, but it's almost like they quit in the second half of the Marshall game. They laid down a little bit.
After they had a 13-10 lead, ECU did, and Marshall did a little halfback pass, and the guy was open like 20, 30 yards.
70 yards,
went in to score.
Yeah.
It was like they
shut down.
Yeah.
But back to East Carolina, Garcia's got to figure it out. If not, it's going to be an ugly year for East Carolina. They're not talented enough in other areas to win games without a decent quarterback play.
The schedule looks like it lightens up a little bit.
It does, and it will. But yeah.
Well, gentlemen, we can't thank you enough for letting us witness this Bleacher Seats reunion here today.
Wow, what a time for us. Yeah.
It's been a while since y'all probably been together, hasn't it?
Yeah, but we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like the old saying, we're going to be back and better than ever.
That's right.
Well, thank y'all for joining us, and this won't be the last time we'll have you on. How about that?
Great.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.